Hey guys, what's up? Hope you guys are doing good. Welcome to another video on Jacob's Aquarium. So today is the review for the MixMax CO2 reactor. And I just wanted to say that I've had about, I think, 2 weeks to use this reactor and I really like it. It works really good. Dissolves CO2 very well. I can't really say that it dissolves CO2 100% because I don't have a pH meter or anything, but I can say that it does dissolve CO2 much better than the ceramic disc diffusers that I've used or any of the other inline techniques that I've tried. So I would highly recommend this to you guys, but there are a few things we need to go over first before you make this purchase that I think you should consider. So before we get into all that, I did actually make an unboxing video for this reactor and I want to show that to you now. Enjoy. We got this from drfostersandSmith.com. I get a lot of aquarium products from them, and I've been getting stuff from them since I was, I think, 16 and ordering stuff when I first got my, well, not 16, maybe 17, 18 when I first got my 50 gallon. So really good company. Shipping takes a while because they're all the way in I think Wisconsin or Minnesota, so you have to wait a long time for your stuff, but good company, good prices. So here it is right here, the MixMax CO2 reactor. Let's see what else is in the box. Of course, we get a little pamphlet on stuff that they have coming up, some other stuff here, and of course my favorite, a crapper magazine, the aquarium supplies from liveaquaria.com. So this is the MixMax CO2 reactor. Let's go ahead and unbox, or well, we already did the unboxing of the shipping, so let's unbox it as the actual product packaging. And if my cameraman can get a little closer so we can get a better look at this thing. What this is a CO2 reactor that plugs into the return line of your canister filter or your water pump for your wet dry filter. And what happens is you plug the CO2 line into here. You can see right there, and it's barbed, so create a nice little connection there. And these tubes right here, there should be a, there they are right there. Here's an adapter where you can connect a 3/4 tubing to it, but if you leave it just like that, it can accommodate a 1/2-inch tubing as well. 3 mounting points, which is really cool. I plan to mount this in my cabinet, so I probably won't need these, but if I do choose to suction this onto the wall of the wet dry filter, these will really come in handy. So 3 mounting points, 3 suction cups included. And it looks like this is made in China, as a lot of stuff is. Some of the directions are also in Chinese and English. So it just gives directions on how to install it, but I don't need that because I already know how. It comes with 2 elbows, so you can really customize your flow going into here, or the way that you arrange your tubing and stuff. So that's very nice, so you don't have to go out and buy that all separately. So here's how this works, okay? CO2 line goes into here. You adjust your BPS, which is your bubbles per second. I recommend using an external bubble counter, like a little tank of water, and then you can count each bubble that comes out so you get an accurate count. So it plugs into here, and then water coming into the reactor goes in right here. Or actually, I'm sorry, goes into right here, which moves around these 2 impellers. It has 2 really nice impellers, and they do seem like they are just onto the plastic. There's no really ball bearing or anything, so but it should still work perfectly fine. So CO2 goes in here, water comes in here, spins the propeller, mixes around the CO2 bubbles really nicely until it's 100% dissolved. And this is why CO2 reactors are really nice, because they dissolve your CO2 100%. Rather than a ceramic disc diffuser or an intake diffuser where you really don't get 100%. You maybe get 75 on a if it's really good and it creates a fine mist of bubbles, you could probably get 95%, but pretty low compared to a reactor. So water comes in here, the impeller mixes around the CO2 bubbles, and then once it has a chance to mix around and 100% dissolved, water goes down here and then back up, and then this is your return line back into the tank. So You hook up your tubing through here and tubing out through here, and then it goes back into your tank. So pretty simple design, should work very nicely. And I got the largest one that they sell. They do sell a smaller version, but I got the largest one because I figured the smaller one would probably allow some of the bubbles to go back into the tank, which would create a lot of fizziness inside the tank. So not really what I want. So I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I will post the dimensions on the screen of the reactor right now. So that's how tall it is, wide it is, and stuff, so you can get an idea of how it's going to fit in your cabinet. But this is what it comes with. So reactor, 3 suction cups, elbows, and then these 2 adapters for 3/4 inch tubing. So as you can see, the setup that I have really isn't the, most common setup that you'll probably find with this CO2 reactor. Usually people have these reactors installed in line with their canister filters, or even with their wet dry filters, with their return line from their water pump. But for me, I really couldn't do that because first of all, I use PVC, and there's no way I could use PVC with this reactor. If I did, it would probably involve some very precarious construction with PVC that would not really work out that well. So what I actually did was I bought a separate water pump, as you guys know, the Cobalt Aquatics MJ1200. I put that in my wet dry filter, hooked that up to the reactor, and then ran a water line back into my tank. It doesn't really affect the way that water comes from my wet dry filter back into my tank. Basically it's just 2 pumps running back into my tank, so it's like having a I think it would be a 595 gallons per hour pump, because I think they're both rated at 295. So if my math serves me correctly, that's what it would be. So this setup that I have works really good for me. Dissolves CO2 into my tank perfectly, and does its job. But you really won't find this reactor set up this way. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you'll most likely find it set up with canister filters or the plastic tubing coming from a return pump from our wet dry filter. So overall construction is okay, but as I expected, it isn't perfect. This product isn't made out of metal, it's made out of cheap plastic, and I knew that it wasn't going to be the best well constructed CO2 reactor. So the few issues that I ran into were the nipples where the suction cups go onto. One of them actually popped right off and I had to super glue it back on. Thankfully the super glue did its job and it has no leaks whatsoever, and I really don't have to worry about it. But as I expect with all the things that I buy, I don't expect to have to do any repairs as soon as I buy them. So that was kind of a disappointment. So as far as construction with the attachment points or the nipples for the suction cups, it's really not that great. They're not really welded onto the plastic that well. The impellers at the top of the reactor work pretty good. They do move around quite a bit. They're not as solid as an impeller inside of a water pump, for example, but they do their job as far as mixing the CO2 with the water. I would have liked to see them built like an impeller inside of a water pump. That would have actually been really cool, because it would have had a much more solid movement than it does, and probably would have spun a lot faster too, because it'd be on a metal rod where the metal rod is lubricated, so the impeller can spin a lot faster. This is just sitting on straight plastic, so I'm not sure if that inhibits how fast it can spin. Probably not, but like I said, I still would love to see it built like a regular impeller, but it does its job either way pretty good. The attachment points for the plastic tubing, once again, not the best constructed because the cheap plastic that they use to make this reactor. The metal clamps that I use to attach the plastic tubing to the attachment points on the reactor actually molded the plastic to the shape that was left by the clamp. So the plastic is very soft, it's very formable, I guess you could say. So be careful when you use clamps or anything, or snap clamps or whatever, to tighten or to secure the plastic tubing onto the reactor, because you can actually damage these attachment points. So I would recommend using much smaller clamps than I did. I probably used bigger clamps than I should have, but either way I think it would still probably, if you did it tight like you're supposed to, it would still kind of form the fitting to the size of the clamp, which you really don't expect that. You expect the plastic to maintain its shape. So the barbed fitting for the CO2 line is really nice actually. It didn't pop off at all. It was pretty solid as far as you know, its construction, and when I had to put on the CO2 line it didn't move around or crack or anything. So that was nice because it took some effort to put the CO2 line onto that barbed fitting, because the CO2 line I use is, you know, pressure rated for CO2 tubing, so, or CO2 gas, so it's a little bit thicker than the normal tubing, so it does kind of take a little bit of effort to put it on there, but it didn't crack, it held up, and it was pretty solid. So that was obviously really good, because if it did snap off, that would automatically mean I would have to return it. So last thing, let's talk about water flow. This reactor needs a very strong pump to run this thing. If you plan on using this with a pump that's less than 200 gallons per hour, trust me, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. You really need a powerful pump, especially if you want to use this in line with a wet dry filter. The pump that I had that was just enough for my wet dry filter is definitely not enough to run this in line as well. I tried it and it did not work. You would need a pump that's rated for your wet dry filter, and then also maybe I would say 300 to 400 gallons per hour more for this, because it does kind of inhibit the flow quite a bit. Using it with a canister filter would probably actually be much more difficult, because usually you can't upgrade the pumps in a canister filter. So if the canister filter's built-in pump isn't powerful enough, then you're pretty much stuck with having to buy another pump and using the CO2 reactor that way. So you need a lot of power to run this thing, but you know, keep this in mind, this is the largest mixed max reactor that they sell. They do have a smaller version that would probably work well with canister filters or with smaller gallons per hour pumps. So overall, this is a great CO2 reactor. I would highly recommend this. Just know that the construction or build quality really isn't that great. It does hold up though, and it does seem pretty solid. Just be careful when you attach the suction cups to the attachment points, and also be careful when you attach the tubing, because you could damage the plastic if you tighten your clamps too tight. But like I said, overall, great CO2 reactor. Does its job very well, dissolves CO2 into the tank almost 100%. Like I said, can't say for sure because I don't have a monitor, but I can say that it's much better than a ceramic disc diffuser or any other inline diffuser that you could probably buy out there on the market today. So thank you.